Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Pride. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by the director of Pride, Mike Lewis. Mike is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Mike, and welcome.
Hey, Eric, what's going on?
Not much. I should be asking you that. You have a lot going on, I see, down in the ATL and with this film here. A lot of eyes have seen this film and they're joining us for this conversation. And for someone looking at this film, what would you tell them? What is this film about?
Well, I would say the film is about following the journey of a young Black woman and going through the process of just finding herself within the challenges of gentrification and the other challenges was what's going on with the surroundings of her community, and even dealing with the rise of social injustices that's happening in her community. So we're just gonna follow her journey and see her story, hear her story.
Okay, yes, it was well displayed. We saw it from her perspective. Uh, but why did you go that approach? How did you come up with this idea? I know you're in Atlanta with the whole Rayshard Brooks incident and so forth. Is that what inspired you to do this film?
Well, yes, because that right there was like a good chunk of it. Because around 2020, when COVID happened, but also when COVID happened, then you see the rise of all this social injustice been happening, and with gun violence and stuff like that. And what really brought it home, because I don't stay too far from that Wendy's where it was burnt down there. I stay literally down the street, which was ironic. And it really hit home for me. And of course, I do a lot of other videography in the Atlanta area, and I was just talking to other filmmakers, and it's like, you know what, we really got to have an answer for all what's going on with these gun violence, and even for me experiencing gun violence growing up in Atlanta and in Riverdale as well. So it's just like that what inspired me, and I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and start writing. And once I started writing, that's when everything started to follow.
Right, and indeed it did follow because this film wasn't just about, we see so many films, okay, it's about, the police overstepping, on black crime, and so forth. But you kind of addressed it all. You took us, back to Africa, and, you created a conversation between a young man and a young woman and so forth. So you threw it all at us. And I said to myself, whoa, is that what you were trying to do? You just wanted to make us think?
Yeah, because I ideally, it's bigger than the what you see on the news or maybe what you see down the street. It's a deeper issue, and the overall context of it is it's more historical. You gotta look at from and I like to use the term systematic approach, and that would really start turning the conversations and even implementing solutions that were to help combat these different rises and injustices. So that's really, I'm glad you was able to capture that, because and that's another essence within the film. It's it helps kind of go back and think the foundational things of who we are.
It does. It does. Let's talk about putting this film together. Before we start this conversation uh, off air, so to speak, we talked about that montage. Did you start off with the montage? Did you start off with casting this film or writing the script? Tell us about how you actually put this together.
So first off, of course, around the time for Rayshard Brooks incident, that's the actual recordings from the actual protests that happened the day after that incident. So, and one day I just God, I pray, you know, all this could be used for something. And then, of course, as it, you know, as it start to play itself, then I, you know, to realize, you know, okay, there is a real problem here within, you know, where we live at. So now, and of course, from that, then it starts from the writing, you know, and of course, doing all my research, you know, a lot of YouTubing, and just, you know, going through the writing process, and then from there, that's when I started doing the casting with the, you know, some of the roles that's there, and of course, doing virtual, and you know, of course, and casting around, like, you know, from my circle of people that I do work with, you know, talking about from music, videos to events, and even, you know, those that are inspiring actors and actresses. You know, I've been doing a lot of casting from there, and after the casting, then the locations, and a lot of all those locations that's in the film is actual, like, you know, monumental locations, like, you know, the area, like the West End area, is really historic there. If you come to Atlanta, you know, come to the West End area, that's more like a lot of the history that's in Atlanta on that side, as well as, you know, there was some shots that was at the King Center, which is, you know, founded by Coretta Scott King, who is the CEO today, is Dr. Bernice King, who I also do a lot of video content for. So it's a lot of stuff going in the midst, but at the end of it all, we are addressing the bigger problem, you know, within this systematic approach.
Right. Yeah, that's really important to address the bigger problem. One thing, as you mentioned, how you wrote the script and, you know, casting this and so forth. The character of Pedro, why did you choose to have a black slash, I guess he's Cuban or Latino? I can't recall exactly. Why did you decide to have him as that type of character instead of just a black character or African character or so forth?
Well, I know for that, I just want to just don't want to just focus just on like us as black people, you know, because it's bigger than us. And then oftentimes we have different other cultures that's intertwined with, you know, with us, you know, like the Afro Latino, you know, because like, say for example, he's a representation of the, you know, of the Panamanian people, or also like some of the other Spanish, you know, tied, you know, communities. And even there's some relations with that as well, you know, because again, like, you know, not everybody just, you know, have African, you know, in them, but there gonna be some ties from other cultures, as we kind of like looking at through the generational lens, you know. So there are other cultures infused within that, and I wanted to, you know, shed light upon that as well. You know.
Well, good. Well, the most gripping scene, as from your screenings, that I'm sure people have told you, was the incident between the the man in the car and the young man shooting him, and the way you wrote it, and the older man pleading for his life, talking about how he had a bad day and he wants to see his family. I just knew he wasn't going to shoot her. I just said, oh, Mike Lewis is going to direct to say that black on black crime doesn't have to really occur, and this is let's let cooler heads prevail. But then again, it's like, oh no, what's he doing with this? So tell us a little bit about that. Why did you go in that direction? You're laughing.
Because funny, like a lot of people with that scene in particular, they thought that way. It's like, oh, he's not going to do it. But when you think about the everyday things that don't make it to the news, like again, like and oftentimes, one of the things, what we're trying to go after within our communities is dealing with the black on black issues. Because how can we go and try to target other issues and other things? We first have to look at our own issues and address our own, things that's happening, and just finding solutions and us trying to be on the same page. And of course, you got an older man and a younger man, and they don't see eye to eye. So it's like, what ways we could do better with understanding each other? you know, and that's the whole point of that scene. It's like you got one person think about how he thinks, and then another person just retaliated the way how he feel, and it's like, going from another perspective with nonviolence, it'll help understand how to handle those type of conflicts when it comes with one person trying to understand in one way versus a different person understand how he feels. So if we start to practice stuff like nonviolence, it can help us cultivate those answers. But again, this is the type of stuff we live in, you know.
Right, right, and the thing about that scene was that it was so eerie, kind of to the whole George Floyd situation, was people had their phones out, they were recording it, and the government didn't care at all. He just wanted to, pull the trigger, and the way you scripted that and had that all developed. That's why I thought, and then you just like really pulled the trigger, all the production value in that just really, like you said, wanted us to really think more about it.
Yeah. Because actually, another thing about that incident, like that's another experience that I had to go through. It's two experiences going in one with that scene. Like, just being around somebody just shooting a gun, just trying to like scare, or intimidate, but yet somebody else life is infected. You know what I'm saying? And then another incident where like I'm actually trying to talk to a gunman with a gun in my face, and just be like, there's more to it than just this. Like I have, all this that I'm have to live for. Why are you doing this for? What makes you feel that you have to live like this? And that's it was like I said, it's an interesting conversation, but yet like both it still resulted in some type of like violence,
Exactly. Well, one thing you did, you kind of did the work for me at the end by having the man talk to people just about living properly as human beings and respecting each other. You put that element in there. It was just really great. You could have gone a different direction. You could have shown the young woman talking to someone, going to talking to friends or someone, but you had that approach in which someone was almost lecturing in that sense. Why did you choose to um, uh, wrap up the film that way?
I feel like as a viewer, I just want to include them into like how can we, respond to this? Because of course something unexpected happened, and then also there's another scene where like this is a typical way how we can mourn, when it comes with balloon releases, and just finding a way that's like, as a whole, like from a educational point, how can we handle issues like this? And as he concluded, let's do it by using nonviolence. And I feel like by diving deeper into those type of conversations will make it feel more open and more inclusive. That what gives it a process for us. Like let's try to do something. You know, and that's the whole essence of that scene, just to really get you to think, but let's think in a different way to where it's like where we could be more better or being more edification within our communities.
So, how are you using this film? Besides being on the festival circuit, are you having it shown in schools? How is it being distributed, and what are you looking for this film to do?
Well, I know I did do a couple of private screenings, was actually with some organizations, and it kind of helped with like the cultural inclusion, side of things, and even just creating open spaces for those that who might have been affected by what's been shown in the movie or probably what's been said in the movie, and it's just like hosting those type of conversations, as well as there's some music out there that help as a, and I'm just the music that you hear in the film trying to use it more as tools to where it's like make it more accessible for whoever watches it. You know, it's available everywhere on all streaming platforms as far as like, you know, the 4 songs that's being used in the film. So, and I'm talking about like those songs is like on, you know, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, you know, stuff like that. But it's also tools to help enriching those conversations and even just trying to and I think that's my next phase, because the way how I wrote it, I really want people to, you know, just for the younger audience, you know, and just having something that maybe they could relate to on a broader scale when it comes with how can I do something for my city, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the music part. Tell us a little bit more about that. Did you find these songs, or did you have these songs composed for your film?
Well, I did like have them all composed. So big shout out to Luke G, who was a big contributor to this project, you know, for the music side when it comes with you know, creating the instrumentals and stuff. And also, and Luke G is the guy that's the actual guy that was singing on the keyboard at the funeral. So that's Luke G, and as well as all the other artists that I don't work with, Chris Elijah, Jasmine Nicole, like and Mark Griffin, and like and all these artists I've done music videos for, and I have, you know, established great relationship for it, and they are for like, you know, trying to empower our communities, you know. So course, sitting with them and sharing, you know, the vision with them, and they was able to write, and even the I had an opportunity to write too as well, which you hear from the funeral scene song, as well as from with G, as well as Jasmine Nicole, who it was like a poem segment that's been recited. You know, I written that as well. So
Yeah, the writing and the lyrics, they all worked well together to, you know, help tell this story. Real quick, in a couple minutes as we have left, you called this film Pride. Why did you call it Pride?
because one thing about it, like again, when you think about like the fall or destruction, before that, it is pride. And when we think about the direction of where, you know, we are going as, which is again bigger than the community, but we think about like as America, like we're going downhill. We're starting to going towards this fall, and before this fall is pride, which is being so self-aware or overly confident on, you know, what you believe. And for again, we think about America and even how it started into where things are heading towards. There is a fall approaching, but because of this pride, we have to be careful. Because in the film, you see reflections on all sides of pride, but yet just be careful as far as like, you know, which direction you're going, because you can go before that fall. There's something that you're really taking, you know, that's taken up or occupied in your space. So,
Well stated, well stated. What's next for you? What can we expect to see from you in the near future?
well, so again, I got a couple scripts that I'm finalizing. There will be another short film that I'll be working on filming this year, as well as working on a feature film, writing a feature film as well, which that's gonna be next year as well, ready for next year, as well as working on a series as well. So it's a lot of things I've been writing on, and just thankful for opportunities like, you know, this, to where I could able to help showcase and give a empowering narrative and shifting, you know, the ideas of, you know, how can, you know, of entertainment as a whole, you know.
Oh, great. Mike Lewis, director of Pride, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Cleveland International Film Festival. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're quite welcome. And thank you to our viewers for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.